from all, to all, with all, for all, through all. We thank the gods of creation. We thank the ancestors. We thank the forces of nature. And we thank the earth. We thank them for their direction, their protection, their guidance, for keeping us, showing us, allowing us to know and enjoy life to its fullest, now and later.
Black people who once loved with the slow march of time. Time was ours to hold in the soft, love-warm chambers of our hearts. And once we, the Afro mommies and daddies of a sun world, would turn our strands of hair into antennas to tune in the juju madness and syncopated love rhythms of Africa. And we loved with time, and we took the time to love, and with the right time we loved, and we loved time after time. Will we ever love again? Will we ever love again? Will we really ever love again? Or will we just sit and rot away with the brighter tomorrows in the skag field, rat cluttered halls of our minds?
Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do?
Will the real black people please stand up?
Jumbo Habari, and welcome once again to Our Story, the program that makes being black positive, relevant, desirable, and true to a lost nation in America. A program that speaks to the historical significance of the original people of the earth. Our Story Network takes pride in setting itself away from other programs that centers on entertainment or rhetorical mumbo-jumbo that misdirects your attention onto other things that causes you to exhaust your resources and renders you brain dead. It is Our Story who talks about commitment to you and your people. It is Our Story that champions the reestablishment of the black genius that once ruled the world. It is Our Story that focuses you in on the rewards of black advocacy, black activism, black involvement, and black power. It is Our Story that encourages survival of the black race and solicits your involvement to that end. Black folks must remember, race first is the call of the day, and we as a people must. I say must take the pledge if we, the people of the original race, expect to survive. As I take the many lessons I have received over the years and reflect upon them by sharing these lessons with my brothers and sisters, I realize the power that we as a people possess for the most part has gone unnoticed. The masses of black folks who have been rendered lost and disenfranchised from the meaning and mission our creators intended for us to embrace is all but depleted. It is because of the mission and meaning of the life of our ancestors that I realize how blessed as black people we really are. What fascinates me are the many gifts I have been granted, which allows me to distribute the information onward to you. As always, that message begins and ends with the importance of blackness. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud.
Black and I'm proud.
Greetings, friends, comrades, family, the inquisitive onlookers, and our beloved viewers. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to Our Story Network. We thank you for being with us this evening, and we trust you will take something of value away with you after the program. That is the aim and goals of Our Story Network, the network that leads the pack in modern-day communications and ancient and modern education. I say ancient and modern education because of the many errors we have found in the descriptions and interpretations of ancient records. The modern revelations by new black scholars have opened the window of discovery that has allowed the truth of knowledge originally disseminated by the black masters of education to flourish once again. This is one of the stumbling blocks that has kept black people from rebuilding their greatness and recapturing their birthright. People, listen to me as black people. We have a rich heritage and an endless fountain of creativity that can and will pull us from the ashes like the mythical bird called the phoenix. And why shouldn't we, black people, be the virile as the phoenix? After all, black people have shown the vigor by showing strength and power over the years which endured slavery. After all, black people have and continue to be associated with the sun. And like the phoenix, black people have obtained new life by rising from the ashes of slavery. According to some sources, the phoenix dies in a show of flames and combustion. Although there are other sources that claim that the legendary bird dies and simply decomposes before being born again. Either way, there are different traditions concerning the lifespan of the phoenix. But by most accounts, the phoenix lived for 500 years before rebirth. Is this not the length of time black people in America have been enslaved? Being born again is a trait commonly known to the people of the sun. After all, haven't we learned that the people of Kemet were big on the afterlife and the resurrection of the dead? The so-called pyramids of Egypt are said to hold the secrets of life and death. Known for the rebirth of a person or a people, the knowledge practiced in ancient Kemet was and continues to be the foundation from which Christianity lays claim to the rebirth theory. Therefore, blacks have been the accepted practitioners of the ancient arts, providing the link and direct connection of black people rebirthing themselves. With all of the symbolisms we have from our ancestors, aren't we equipped to call on our ancestors to release the chains that binds black people to allow us to be reborn again? The only problem standing in our way is the lack of knowledge of ourselves and fear that we might step on some toes. But after 500 years of bondage, aren't we entitled to step on a few toes to gain our freedom once again? I ask you, if what we are dealing with today is not worthy of our people coming together to stop the suffering and degeneration of our people, then what will it take to channel a redirection of purpose and priorities? Which brings me to tonight's topic. As many of you are aware, the New Orleans public schools are not responsive or attentive to our youth. If the purposeful devaluation of our youth's education is not enough to cause massive concern and public demonstrations, then what does it take for our community to pull together to make our children's education top priority? Tonight, we have with us Brother Monroe Coleman, longtime businessman in New Orleans and an activist for the people of New Orleans. With him is Ronald Magee and Lynn Pittman, who will discuss the plight of McDonough 35 and the overall public school problem. Brother Coleman, I want to thank you and your guests for being with me tonight, and tell us what is going on at MAC 35.
First of all, WC, I want to thank you for making this an issue on your program. And for our viewing audience, I'd like to take and go back and give us a little history on McDonough number 35. Early in 1914, citizens of New Orleans was concerned about their children having higher education. Our public school system only educated to the 6th grade. So from 1914, the fight endured, or I'm gonna say the demand, because they were taxpayers and property owners. And in 1917, the school board gave in to them, and we took over a white elementary school that was located at 655 South Rampart Street. And we maintained that location until Betsy blew down the wall of it, and the school had to relocate at the post office, and from there it went to another school that was on St. Anne Street. And the principal of McDonough 35 during my era was Dr. Max Spears. And Max Spears rose to become the first black on the school board. And one of his just say pet peeves was to give McDonough 35 its first built building. So they received the building, at least had the building built. That was 1333 on Callarack Street in the Tremay area. And I also want to include that McDonough 35 was the first black public and co-ed high school in the metro area, where black citizens would just say that their family and friends would come from surrounding areas from out of town, because there was no public higher education in the general area at all. So it's almost like a family boarding. They'll come stay at their relatives during school time, and then they'll go home during the summertime. 35 main goal was college preparatory. And the model that McDonough 35 used at that time is what they're using now, where we're the open district school, we're the only school, so you could come from any neighborhood and get educated. And then later, Booker T came into existence sometime in the 50s, but the goal of McDonough 35 never changed. So the school system decided to take and change the name, and they started the One App, moving kids all around by force. The One App determined where you would go. And the One App have really taken the power from the community, where you was controlling your school, to the school board controlling the school and the direction of the kids. You really don't have a choice. And then busing became a major issue with transporting the kids all over town from the East Bank, West Bank, and vice versa. At McDonough 35, the first bus pickup is 6:15 in the morning. So you know your child has to at least get up by 5 o'clock, and just say the average child may spend an hour each way, so that's 2 hours per day times 5 is 10 hours, and you multiply that time the months of the year, that's a lot of time the child is losing just in transportation, not interacting with his neighborhood or either his family or being able to do other things. They spend so much time in transportation. And we coming to a point where the kids are not happy at school anymore. The just say the education specialists are saying that the brightness in a child's eye is going out between 3rd and 4th grade. And your dropout shows itself between the 6th and 9th grade.
Wow.
So when the children are not interested in learning, it affects overall. We have the pipeline to prison, and the system is great in sending out children to prison.
That's right.
And it's very unfortunate that the parents are not really seeing enough of how the system is destroying their child. And once the child get into the criminal justice system, it becomes difficult for the child to really earn a living at that point.
That's right.
And this is one of the issues that crime is a major factor now. The children are angry because they do not see themselves growing old. They don't see themselves being successful. And unfortunate that they are basically planning their own funeral early.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. But we have to do something to turn it around. We're working hard to save McDonald 35. The school board and the superintendent have told us, the alumni, the faculty, and the parents that have children there, that in the school year 2018 and 19, they are not taking in any more students. And I want to give you a count what we have at 35 right now. The current enrollment is 817. This year, they graduated, or they will graduate tomorrow, 235. This is the largest class McDonald have had since the 2005, the Stone, the largest. So if you back out 235 from 817, it gives you 582 kids. The school capacity is 1,200. That's the capacity of the school. So we really is in need of 618 children to have a full school at McDonald 35. And we are the belief that the superintendent, along with the school board, is trying to phase out McDonald 35 history for some other entity to take over. And we're fighting hard so that they could reopen the app, because that's where right now the only way to get into in the school, you have to go through the app, and you have to be basically computer literate to register your child. So we are here to ask the citizens to get involved, contacting the school board, asking them to save McDonald 35, along with other schools as well, because we are the last school that the Orleans Parish School Board is managing, and they're not really trying to do that well. So we don't need a school board if they're not going to do a good job in managing the schools. We elect them to manage the school system, and right now they are violating local, state, and federal rules and laws for the way they operate the school.
You know, from what I'm recalling, that John Mack is the only non-charter school left. Is that correct?
No, you mean McDonald 35.
I'm sorry, McDonald 35 is
That's
the
correct.
only.
McDonald 35 is the only.
Right, yeah. Now, I wanted to run over here quickly to Brother Ronald. Now, Brother Ronald, you've been really active with the alumni and pushing to do what needs to be done to save MAC 35. So tell us what it is that you are doing, the involvement you've been engaged in, and where are we with the efforts of you and the alumni and the parents and the students? Where are we in that particular fight?
Yes, sir, and thank you again for having me. My name is Ronald Magee. I'm a former vice president of the Alumni Association, and right now I'm actively involved with the PTSO at McDonald 35. And the reason why I switch is because there's a gap that needs to be filled between the two major stakeholders, me and the parents and the Alumni Association. Sir, what's happening is that we get half-truths, lack of transparency, and no accountability from different levels. And we need to identify the problem. And the problem is with the school board's inability to manage, and the idea that they don't want to do the job that they were elected to. Facts matters. And I want to address a decision that the PTSO made to deliver to the superintendent overnight that he had to sign for, requesting that he answer questions concerning why the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades will not accept applicants. And not so much that he decided that, but there was no inclusion of the parents, the major stakeholders. And in doing so, he hasn't replied yet, and we asked that he do. And with that, there was a statement sent out through the superintendent and the school board. And the superintendent acknowledged that this school has declined in the last 3 to 4 years. The school board says that they will support the school and its parents for the next 6 months under this experiment, but they're looking for a significant improvement. See, we have words that are used with no meaning. It's just words. We don't understand what significant improvement is, who measured it, and how it's going to be measured, who's going to control that. I just don't understand it. But the first thing I said was facts matter. The fact is, when Henderson Lewis, the present superintendent, took office, we were not a failing school. We were high C. 4 years later, we failing. Now, understand this. 57% of the students in 2013, 2014 were above age and below in math and English. 57%. That's a number. It's a fact. The district was 27%. Where and why did disparity come from? One app. Don't want to deal with one app. We don't care. It's our students. They black, white, green, or yellow. They're our students. They're in school. We need to prepare ourselves for them. We need to prepare them for the future. In doing so, we recognize a problem. What does our superintendent do to correct that problem? He fires the principal. The principal had no control over the enrollment. And in firing that principal, people in the last 4 years, that position has been filled 5 times. Did you hear me? 5 times. That's unheard of. When we look at other statistics, because facts do matter, we look at class sizes. Very important in the education of kids. And I'm just giving you stuff that's printed in the book, this book. McMahon, 34 plus students per class, 5%. Roy Easton, with classes with more than 34 students, 2%. Carr, 34 or more students, 4%. Ben Franklin, 5%. I saved Lusher for last because Lusher had 0%. Did I say last? I didn't mean last. I saved 35 for last. 31% of our classes had more than 35 students. Facts does matter. So when the superintendent tells me and anybody else that want to hear that we've declined in the last 3 or 4 years, I can show you facts to show you why.
Why, yeah.
Now, with these facts, there should be solutions. The solution is not to fire the principal. The solution is to hire an experienced principal that's qualified to run a prestigious historical school.
High school.
High school. And if that's not done, I got to question the motives and the intent of the people behind this. Now, if the superintendent can't do his job, and he is an employee of the school board, what is their job? I know what their mission is, to provide a quality education for every school, for every student. Well, they've failed. They failed us, the school, the parents, the teachers, and everybody involved. For some of us who see the facts, we have questions. Those questions need to be answered. And we have tried on numerous occasions to contact the superintendent to have him come in and answer some of these questions for us. That has not happened. We have a district representative, but we don't have a district school. It just baffles me. Our district representative is null and void. I tell you now, most of the people don't know who it is, but if I tell you that their position is on policy and procedure, all of the school board members will attest to that. But if it's on policy and procedure, who's running the store? If the charter schools have their own school boards, board of directors, what are their jobs? They have one school, one direct run school, McDonald 35. And if you can't get that right,
Yeah.
shame on you.
You know, I like to bring in another component to this mix that we have and to the movement that the alumni and the interested parties are going through, and that is, of course, the parents. We have Lynn Pittman with us, and she is a parent. She is also actively trying to save MAC 35. So Lynn, what is your position? What is going on from the parent-student level? And what do you see the ultimate outcome of all of this?
Good afternoon, and thank you again for having me. My name is Lynn Pittman. As a parent, one app has failed us. It has taken away our rights as parents to place our kids where we feel we want them to be. If you don't have the money to put them in a private school, then of course you're subject to one app. My child, my niece at McDonald 35, entered 5 different schools on one app. 35 was number 6. According to what they tell us, they try to give your child preference of where they live, and there's a formula. 35 did not fit the formula that they told us in one app. I'd like to also piggyback on what Mr. Magee said. As parents, it's my responsibility to feed, clothe, give shelter to, and educate my child. It is McDonald 35's job to educate. But how can you educate if you're not fulfilling the basic needs of the school? There's no stability in the school. And by stability, 5 principals in 4 years is not stability.
That's no way, no way.
Teachers missing from core classes, that's not stability. A substitute teacher in a core class, that's not stability.
Now you mean substitute teacher on a consistent basis or when the regular teacher is out?
On a consistent basis.
So
There
they're
are
running
courses
classes with substitutes.
with substitute teachers, that's right, that's right.
Let me interject.
Yeah.
When McDonald 35 opened this school year, there were 10 teachers short. 10. And when the school moved to the new location, the principal who was in charge in a transition, they fired him. So the new person came in not knowing teachers or students, and they had a scheduling problem. And we've been having problem with the council because of the vacancy that was created and the way you wear a person out by them not having what all they need. So you have an issue with the parent, an issue with the child, especially a senior. Because they don't have their core subjects, they cannot graduate. And that's a serious problem with the parent and the child, and it leads to the anger that the child have, because he or she planning on graduating, but now they don't know. Because you got to have core teachers certified to teach certain subjects. And when you got teachers there who are angry for being there, that creates another problem, because then the child get a 0.
Yeah.
And you know, you factor the 0 with an average, you know, that messes up everything.
Yeah, that tears it up.
Well,
Lynn, go ahead.
Also, I was going to say, with the substitute teacher situation, if you have a teacher that's a substitute that has no vested interest in your child, that's not a good situation.
You're right. You're 100% right.
And we did send a letter to the superintendent, and we received just a generic letter saying that, you know, yes, we will run the school and we do expect improvements in 6 months. However, how can we improve in 6 months if you're not accepting any students? When the school opens, we're going to have 582 students rather than 817 that we have now, and you're not bringing more students in, that translates to me to less funding for the school.
Yeah.
So then you're still not going to have the money to hire the teachers that you need. So we're rolling downhill. We're not making significant progress. We're actually going downhill.
Who is the school board rep for your area? For
Our school board rep name is Sarah Houston. Sarah Houston.
And what is she doing as a rep?
What is she doing?
Is she in town?
She might be. I'm gonna give you a little background on Sarah Houston. Sarah
Please.
Houston was an individual that came here from Kentucky. She was very instrumental in starting the first charter organization, which is now known as New Schools New Orleans. And I'm gonna tell you, from my point of view, they're doing a great job. I have no qualms with New Schools New Orleans. They're doing a great job. But as a school board member with that type of background, they did an ethics check and they said everything was fine. And that's good. But she's missing in action. She is not obvious to us. We don't know what she does, when she's available. We had to request a meeting with her, with the superintendent. And I'm going to say this publicly because I've said it privately. She conducted a scheme to give us some money to give to the school to find a principal. But the money that she provided through New Schools New Orleans would give them a seat at the table. Now, I'm trying to understand this because they're a nonprofit, the alumni is a nonprofit. Why do we have to accept money from them to give to the school board?
That sounds like Al Capone action right there.
It really does. It really does. And when the question was asked the superintendent, she said, I made the call because I wanted to know who called whom. Did you call New Schools New Orleans or did they call you? And he couldn't answer, but she did. She said, I called. I said, wait a minute. Something's wrong with that picture. Something's wrong with that picture for two different reasons, because of the appearance of impropriety is enough. It's too much.
Yeah.
And to say that you are absent in your appearances is disrespectful, and people have admonished me about saying certain things, but I'm going to tell the truth. We had a town hall meeting. They had 3 of them throughout the city. Our district representatives did not come to ours. And I just, hey, that was enough. That was too much for me. Why she didn't come? And I'm telling you, if I'm sick, I'm sending word ahead. I'm sick, I can't be there. No explanation given. None. She's just not there. And nobody said anything.
Yeah, because they said it was all right.
Apparently so. I want to do one other thing right quick.
Okay.
I want to pick back on 2 things. Mr. Coleman said something about the enrollment and admission. What I have in my hand, I'm going to read from you, is from the Calvin Institute, from Tulane University, and it talks about the changes under unification, which is what they are going through right now. These changes in governance will allow for the OPSB, the RSD, and LDOE, Louisiana Department of Education, called portfolio planning, meaning that the board may relocate schools in different buildings if insufficient students are enrolled. So, if the building holds 1,200, we got 5, it seems like they put us in a position that we can be relocated. And that's the overview that we see. And that's one of the things that we are fighting. These people have a capacity to hide an agenda. They give you half-truths. And all we have ever asked for was inclusion. That's all. See, we know where our power is, and we know what our limitations are. But we are adults, and we understand. Include us in decisions and discussions. That hasn't been done, and they will throw out a significant improvement. Words with no meaning to us, and they expect us to take that and run with it. And it's unacceptable at this point, and we will not accept it going forward.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I came to a meeting over at MAC 35 a couple months ago. And I was shocked because when I got there, they said if you were not an alumni or a parent of a current student, you couldn't get in.
Right.
So I sat outside for a while to observe and see what was going to happen and go on. And then Dr. Joe Bowie came, who is a representative in the legislature from that district.
That's right, that's right.
And they wouldn't let him in.
That's right.
Now, what kind of foolishness is that?
See, Ronald could address to that. That was an alumni issue that I took offense to as well, not having a representative there. Now, I don't have nothing against Nolan Marshall, a school board person, but he is an honorary member of the alumni. He just sat in the back and observed. If you could have a school board member observe, how come you cannot have a representative of the state who funds the whole system, that you're going to treat him like an outsider? Now, you know, there is proper protocol that you should use.
Yes.
So this is what Ronald is making the point, that the alumni is really, in our estimation, is really not working in the best interest of everybody, because as a PTSO should be at any meeting of the school about their children. And this is what Ms. Pittman is talking about. How can you be more concerned about my child
than me? Yes, right. I agree. Now, you know, I'm going to tell you, I was furious for one, but one of the solutions I had, because I do believe, and people that's listening, you know, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I truly believe that Representative Joe Bowie could have called the state police and forced his way in there. I honestly believe that, and had it been me, I would have done that. I would have definitely found
It's a public building, why not?
But they didn't let the parents in either?
No.
The parents, no.
It was
No, the
alumni
parents,
only.
Only.
It was only alumni. It was only alumni.
and
A few
that was
parents did show, and they could not enter.
They could not enter. The parents that were there were alumnus. And the superintendent was there and his staff. And it might have been best that those individuals were not present, in that they answered none of the questions. They filibustered for at least an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so it was a non-productive meeting. And again, we have individuals that would rather, like my grandfather would say, would climb a post and tell you a lie than to look in your face and tell you the truth. And that's what is happening. And we have accepted this to the point that I want people to understand that we can all stand up and shout about what we know is wrong. But we've gone further. We've identified solutions.
Well, that's a good point. Give us some of those solutions, please.
I'm gonna give you some that I did with help from others. But I have other stuff here from doctors, Bessie board members, former superintendent of schools that have solutions to problems that were obvious. People, the counselors stay with the students. So if I'm a counselor with the 9th grade, next year I'll be a counselor with the 10th grade. Right now, we don't have one counselor in that school this year that was there last year.
Oh.
Not one. Some of us around my age realize or remember the homeroom period. We don't have a homeroom period. You know what I mean? That's the start of the day.
Yeah.
Schedule students, the scheduling is a problem. Minimum of security. How important is security? It's very important. You need to have a secure place. We had 4 security guards when Henson Lewis started. Now we have 2. 2. It doesn't make sense. Cameras. We have cameras in the school that don't work. They're not being monitored. We have people running in and out of the building all day. We need to have teacher mentoring. Mentor the teachers. And we can mentor the students. That's just some of my gibberish. We have other stuff here from a superintendent, former superintendent of school, as a doctor, and right now the president of the Alumni Association. He has solutions. McDonald 35 would be comprised of an attendance zone, inclusive of current special needs students, currently enrolled students that live in the attendance zone who would gain auto entrance. Students who live in the attendance zone that do not want to attend McDonald 35 may choose to attend other schools through OPSB and current enrollment policies. Give the principal the ability to move staff to do what has to have the tools to provide a learning environment that supports the McDonald 35 mission. Simple. Staff must meet and exceed satisfactory evaluation criteria as set forth by current policies. Have a review committee at the end of each year to determine if the student has met his or her enrollment expectations to move on to the next grade level. What they have done.
Excuse me, have you forwarded this to the school board?
Sir?
Superintendent.
Superintendent. And the school board, because I'm telling you, we met with each school board member individually. And we showed our concerns, we showed the solutions that we saw, as we saw them.
And what did they say?
Take it into consideration. We deal with policy and procedure. And that's their attitude. So, again, they hired a superintendent to do their bidding. And when we go to the superintendent, I can show you agendas for the last 3 years. They haven't changed. It's the same issues. Staffing, a principal search, a security, the same issues, staffing. Every year, we met with him 5-6 months in a row. Same thing. But there's no interaction or reaction to our solution. I have one other thing I want to share with you, if I can.
All right.
And this is a plan that acknowledges all the needs observed by a group of people. And with those needs, see, again, WC, we all can identify problems. But what they did, they identified problems, they gave you solutions, the required actions, and a timeline. And I'm talking about 8 pages. And I'm talking about very, very precise. They identified a problem, they gave you a solution, and a timeline, and a required action.
Who is they? That's what I want to be clear with.
I'm going to tell you that it's a doctor, that's an alumnus, and I don't know if they want me to call their name.
Okay, so in other words, this is all coming out of the alumni.
Alumni Association and our attempt.
So this is all part of the solutions that you have that you have sent forth. I've got you. I've got you.
Yeah, these are Alumni Association members, and I'm telling you, Mr. Coleman alluded to some of the prestigious members we have. I'm telling you, doctors, Bessie board members, lawyers, and superintendent of schools.
Let me interrupt for a minute. We have a call. They're going to go to the call. The calls, we appreciate you watching and participating. Turn the volume of your TV all the way down. Talk to us directly through the telephone. And welcome to our story. What is your question or comment?
Hello, how you doing? My name is Thomas Clavery, and I just wanted to let y'all know how much I enjoy y'all shows and admires me to enjoy listening to people talk on different topics and everything. And I just want to thank y'all, and I just want to keep on saying good work to y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate.
What's the man's name with the burgundy shirt on?
My name is Ronald Magee. I'm a graduate of McDonald 35, year 1967.
Yes, and I just wanted to ask you, they have my number, and after the show is over, I need you to call me back because I need to discuss something with you personally.
Young lady, as long as it's concerning what we are speaking on, we have no problem with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me ask Lynn something. Where, as a parent and the parents that you are involved with, where do they stand on this? And I'm sure they have to be frustrated as they can be.
Indeed, we're very frustrated. Our concern is that we don't want McDonald 35 to close. We would like to keep the school open. However, we also understand that, and Mr. Magee read it, if we don't have the numbers, they reserve the right to come in and close the school.
Yeah.
Our concern is that is the ultimate goal.
That's what they're
That's our
booking
concern.
you guys up for.
Right. Also, our concern is, that the school has to have certain things in place for our kids, and we need ACT prep, tutorial programs. None of that is in place. With reduced funding, it's not going to happen. So we're very concerned about this.
Before the show, we were talking about the tutorial programs, and I believe Ronald was telling me about some funding that they had received. They had a tutorial program that could go set up and go into action immediately, and the school still
Yes, sir.
allow it.
And again, I want to give props to the Alumni Association because they are effective in certain ways and in certain areas. Once we realized a solution was for the tutorial program. Now, going through the school, they had some rule or whatever saying that they needed at least 15 students before they could fund that. Well, the alumni stepped up and said, hey, we will fund it regardless. The money is available, we have it. If there's one student that wants to be in there, one parent that wants to send their child to that tutorial program, if they see the need, we're going to supply it. And it was rejected to the point that it was never instituted. They didn't tell us that they couldn't do it. They didn't tell us that they wouldn't do it. They didn't do it. And I mean, when you reject, nothing's free. We understand that. But we had, meaning the Alumni Association, the resources to back up what we stated, and we made it clear, regardless of a number, we will pay for it, meaning the teachers to instruct.
Mr. Magee, I would like to also say that there was a proposal in place where several of the teachers were willing to volunteer. So the funding wasn't an issue. You had volunteers.
The school was not.
The school was the issue.
Exactly.
The school was the issue. Really,
that's a problem. Let us, because we have the fastest hour in television, so I wanted to get to some of the things that, if we missed anything, if you have any advice, or if you're asking people to contact you to be supportive, I want to get that out so you can deal with that. Monroe?
Thank you, WC. We mentioned about Dr. Joseph Bowie.
Yes.
He is in Baton Rouge on the floor as we speak. He would love to have been here, but he is a representative and he couldn't be here. He is a champion about the Act 91, which is a legal practice that Arlene Parish School Board is doing, and the school board, as well as a lot of the citizens, is not understanding, and even the parents, how this is affecting the schools. I want to share some horrible figures with you. 80% of the children at McDonald 35 right now are below grade average, according to their testing. And we need to have an extra period a day, every day, a Saturday, and mandatory summer school so we could bring the children up to the level they need to be at. We are basically passing children that's deficient in math and English. And anybody know in life, there's two things you need: to be able to count your own money and read your bank book or your checking account. You know, to fill out applications and etc. And this is what the children get angry about, because the real, let me just say, really bad behavior starts early in grades, where they see they're starting getting left behind, and then they start acting up more. They act up just so the other kids don't get ahead of them, and discipline become a very serious problem. And if we don't address that on the elementary level, coming up to senior high school is going to be even worse, because the kids are bigger.
Actually, it's too late.
They're bigger and they're much more challenging. So it's hard for a teacher to really control that child once he gets that large. And the parents are giving up on their children as well. We need training for parents. No Child Left Behind is a serious issue that we need to grab a child and bring them forward, because if we don't, it's more of the pipeline to prison that's going to continue. One other point I just like to say is that a tree without roots is dead. And if a tree does have roots, you must water it. And that's what our children are. We have to water them, we have to nurture them so that they can be productive citizens. Because if we ain't training the children, they can't take care of us when we get older.
That's right.
And all parents want their child to look after them like we looked after them when they was a baby.
That's right.
So we become the second baby once we grow old. And you and I, we know about that.
Yes, we do. We really know about that. Listen, I want to thank all of you for being with us this evening. My door is always open. If there's anything that we here can do to assist you in what you're doing, you give me a call, we'll schedule you and we'll bring you back. In fact, we'll probably be bringing you back soon anyway, because we want to get a follow-up on what's happening and seeing if things are going. One of the things I would suggest is you seriously need to start looking at some kind of legal action against the city and the state. But want to thank you again, and we will be having you back soon. And I know I'll be hearing Monroe in the next few days, so I don't have to worry about that. But I want to, before we get out of here, I wanted to talk a little bit about our story, The Original Holocaust, which is the book that I have written and published and put out there, because it talks about a lot of the activism I've been involved in. It talks about a lot of the people I have met and come into contact with over the years. We talk about the NOPD consent decree here. We talk about a number of the problems that happened then and problems that are continuing now. The only reason why I didn't have anything in there about the education here is because I run out of room. So I'll put that in the next one. But it is a book that I'm sure you will enjoy reading. It would be very educational, very eye-opening, and it would give you an understanding as to what black folks need to spend some of, if not all of their time on. And that's what's wrong with us and trying to fix us. So once again, the book is available at Community Book Center. It's also available at Wayne's World and Sons on St. Claude, and it's also available on the West Bank at Delight, Educationer's Delight on Holiday Drive. They're telling me that I've got to push out of here. I'm overdue. I want to thank you again for being with us, and remind you that you can see us on YouTube, Our Story TV show, and the number is there. Give me a call. Let me know what's going on in your world. Until we meet again, brothers and sisters, remember, stay strong, stay black, but by all means, stay committed. Till we meet again, Yehoro Sasa Ngawa.
Wawa.
Harmonies, a harmony is collected. Reaping the fruits our foremothers invested. Lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, yeah, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, listen, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, come on, come on.
Sing a song,
yeah,
full of the faith that the dark past has taught us.
Come on.
Sing a song, full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun,
facing the rising sun. Come on.
of our new day begun.
It's a new day.
Let us march on
Yeah.
till victory is won. Till victory is
This is
won.
victory music. Come on, I hope you feel it.
Yeah.